This group of combination stitches is based on a zigzag pattern, which is created using an arrowhead stitch. For this one, I did draw 3 lines, and I'm still not super even. So if you really want these diamond shapes to be even, then you might want to measure evenly and mark a vertical line as well. So I actually worked, I like to work one side and then come back and do the other, but I didn't leave myself a lot of space here, so. And then come up to the top. And ideally, this one up here would be in line with that point on the bottom. Apparently, I am not good at making diamonds, but while the pattern card does say zigzag, this is actually the arrowhead stitch making the zigzag. Now, inside of each of those diamonds we created with our zigzag or arrowhead, we are going to put a cluster of 4 lazy daisies. So I'm using that line I drew down the middle for the center. So 2 of the petals are going to be going vertically off of that line, and the other 2 are going to be laying on the line. And ideally, their centers should match. So I'm just going to work all the way down my row of diamonds, putting in my groups of 4 lazy daisies. To finish this combination off, we are going to come back and work a French knot in each corner of our diamond or zigzag, and also in the center of each cluster of lazy daisies. We can just work all the way down. I'm just doing a 2-wrap French knot because I am using size 8 pearl cotton. And if I did a 3-wrap, it starts to overwhelm my little lazy daisies in the middle. So just going to work all the way down the pattern that way to finish it off. For this combination zigzag or arrowhead, I marked 3 lines. We're working 2 rows of zigzag stacked on top of each other. So I worked the first row between the top and the middle line, and I am doing it in 2 slightly different colors, just because I think it looks more interesting that way. So I go all the way across on the top one, or the bottom one, doesn't matter, first. And then I will come back and work the other one. And mine are getting really irregular here on the camera. I do a little bit better when I'm off camera. Now for my second row of zigzag, I switched to a slightly darker color of purple. I want to line up as close as I can to exactly what I have above. So I will look and try to come up perpendicular to where I did the previous stitches, but just on the bottom line and the middle line this time, so that I have a space in between. And in the interest of total honesty, I did go back and rip out that top row to get it a little bit more even, and restitched it off camera. So I'm just doing another zigzag right below the first one, whatever length I want it. And I just thought it was more interesting with two different shades of the same color rather than doing it all one color, but you could certainly do the whole thing in one color if you want to. Next, we're going to come back and just do a running stitch down through the middle of that zigzag, and it's just going to depend on how big your zigzag is or how wide, on how many stitches you get. I'm only getting a couple on each side. Just run that all the way down, the whole length of your combination. To finish this combination off, we're going to come back on both sides and on the peak of our zigzag, so that's the outer point, we're going to work a cluster of 3 lazy daisies. So I like to put the vertical one in first, and that kind of gives me a guide for the 2 that are on the edge. And then after we work the 3 on the peak, we're going to drop down into the valley and put 1 lazy daisy. So again, 3 on the peak. And then after we get those 3, drop down in the valley and put 1, and my thread's getting a little bit short here for making lazy daisies. Oops. And just continue all the way across, just like I did on this side, and we'll just make it the same on the other side. For the final zigzag combination, I marked 2 lines and just worked 1 row of zigzag between them, and we've seen enough of that already on this video. And then I'm going to come back on the peak of the zigzags on both sides, so my outer points, and I'm going to work 1 lazy daisy stitch. It's kind of open, but well. So just all the way down, and that stitch should be coming out perpendicular from the point. One more and then we'll move on. Okay, so all the way across. Now we're going to come back, and in the valley of each zigzag we're going to work a long straight stitch. I didn't want it to be quite as high as where my lazy daisies went, but it needs to be fairly long. And then off of that straight stitch, we are going to work 4 shorter straight stitches, or basically little leaves coming off of it. One set right on top of the other, or right above the other. Rather than having a gap like that last one, I like it better if I can kind of slide the needle under that long straight stitch so that they look like, the short ones look like they connected. Let me just go over to the next valley so we have them going both directions. They're coming straight off of where we did our lazy daisies. They should be at an angle, although if you don't want them at an angle, it's yours. Make them straight out. So we're going to just work this little stem with our short little straight stitch leaves in each valley all the way across our combination stitch. To finish this combination off, we are just going to put a cluster of 3 French knots on the top of each of our straight stitch stems. You can make them any way you want. The picture's showing them in a triangle with the base of the triangle right above the stem with 2 French knots and then 1 just on top of those 2 centered. So it's up to you. Over here I have it the other direction. So 3 all the way down. I'll do one more group. Could just put 1 if you wanted to. It could also be colonial knots. It could be beads. You could do some other stitch at the top for the flower or the buds. It's up to you.